welcome to my talk, Popular Music Studies as User-Generated Culture. It's really, it's sort of morphed into Popular Music Studies and Popular Music Education as User-Generated Culture, so if you need to read now, that's good. Right, this, I was fortunate recently to be invited to a talk at the Houses of Parliament. It was in a small room there, not the big famous one. And this talk, it was only 3 weeks ago, kind of got me thinking about the themes for this talk. Now, the question being posed in this session was this: where are the musicians of the future coming from? Which, as the Institute of Contemporary Music Performance, where I teach, this is an important question to me because I'm hopefully teaching those people. So, the people present at this debate were people from the recording industry, and there were people, governors and leaders of schools, and there was someone from a youth music charity. I was from the Representative Music College there. My boss had taken me in 7 students along, which was rather exciting. And there were instrument sales people, so a sort of breadth of the music industry, as it is, and some government ministers and MPs. Now, what interested me was, while we were meant to be answering this question, the question that people seemed to be answering was this: where are the professional musicians of the future coming from? Because all the people had prepared answers, and all of the answers were really answering this, which is a perfectly sensible question. And then it turned out actually I think there were 6 presentations, and it turned out probably they were even answering this question, which is perhaps what popular music's all about, because if it's genuinely popular, as in loads of people know about it, then perhaps that's the same thing. Although popular was never in the title of the question. So this got me thinking that perhaps a question we needed to ask, or that was embedded within this question, perhaps a previous question, should have been something like this: asking about the type of music culture that we want to have in the UK, or not just in the UK, but this was about the UK. And even prior to that would be this question: what culture do we have in the UK? Is it one that makes us answer questions about the future musicians by instantly inserting the word famous into the title, accidentally as it were? So, this got me thinking anyway. This is a picture of the Institute where I work, and this is a picture of a drum kit at the Institute, because I think the drums look fantastic. Some of those are mine, some of the colleges, and it's one of my favourite photos, so I'll let you drink that in. At the Institute, where we teach, hopefully, the musicians of the future, and of the present, obviously, we talk about industry connectivity and training them to be professional musicians. We tell people we have connections to the music industry and that the teachers are from the music industry, as though the industry were a separate entity from musicians who were there somehow. And this notion of professionalism has cropped up a few times today, and what's the difference between an amateur and a professional? And I don't know, I was reasonably unsure before I arrived here, and now I'm completely uncertain. And that's okay. We're going to go to another conference about that. This is the phrase that crops up an awful lot. I credited myself as using this phrase. I certainly didn't invent it, but I have a book chapter coming up later in the year in which I talk about 2 of the programs we have at our college, where both degree programs in music talk about their own pedagogy of employability, but they have different notions of how their graduates will be employable. For the one program, the B.Mud, the students are supposed to be training as, I suppose, multidisciplinary, not multidisciplinary. They're supposed to be able to play all different kinds of styles of music. And any situation that crops up, they can cope with it in a sort of session player sense. They can play a bit of funk, disco, jazz, and nail the styles. Whereas the other program we have in creative musicianship is more about making people employable because they're unique and special and have their own creative identity. So it's about, they're both hopefully employable, but perhaps in different ways. One focuses on the unique, the other focuses on the generic, perhaps crafts person as opposed to arts person maybe. So this has cropped up again today. I had a feeling I wouldn't be the first to talk about this. And to me, I'm not sure if this notion of the connection to the industry and bringing people from the industry into the college, how well this sits with the sort of democratisation idea. Because we're sort of advocating to our students, saying this is fantastic, it's a brave new world of democratised industry, and it belongs to you now, you are these people. But come to our college because we bring the industry to you, although you are the industry. And I'm not quite sure how that square is being circled, or circle is being squared, whichever it is. Or if it needs to be, even. So I wonder about this: where is the industry? At London, apparently, our prospectus tells everybody the industry is in London. It's the heart of the music industry. Although if you go to Nashville, they'll give you a different answer. Who are these professionals? Am I one of them? Hopefully I'm teaching these people. And what do they look like? What kind of careers do professional musicians have these days? They do. What don't they do? But what do professional musicians do? My best friend Doug is a bass player, and he is only a bass player. I think he's given about 3 bass lessons in his life. He only plays the bass. That's what he does, and he's very professional. I think he considers me to be a semi-professional musician, because while I play to what I like to think of as a high standard, I also do other things like teaching, which maybe makes me not professional. Or if it makes me professional, then perhaps he's more professional because he only teaches. So anyway, I get confused about what it means to be professional, what it means to various people, and this idea of the amateur, professional, and semi-professional, it's all up in the air. So Dawn Bennett has written this fantastic book in which she discusses what it's like to be a professional musician or musician in Australia, in the classical profession. And there's a book by Stephen Cottrell which talks about professional music making in London. It's even called Professional Music Making in London, about the different sort of portfolio careers that people have as musicians and teachers, and stepping on shows and having this gig and that gig and piecing together a life as one does. And then there's me. I'm in the middle of, it was going to be 6 months, it's now a year. I'm doing a column every month with a video for a drum magazine in the UK, and Rhythm magazine, which is very cool. So I get to be in the position now of telling all of the nation's drum magazine readers of exactly what it's like to be a professional drummer. So anyone who reads the magazine in the next year, it's my word. But they found the silliest pictures of me, honestly. That's okay. Now we have a gentleman teaching at our college called Jay Stapley. Here he is. I'm intrigued by his tagline here: musician, writer, producer, and minstrel. As though none of those last 3 was part of being a musician, which Dawn Bennett and Stephen Cottrell would disagree with. Well, maybe he means musician, by which I mean the following. Jay's actually had an interesting career. He was, for about 30 years, he played in film soundtracks and TV adverts and all sorts of famous musicians' sessions, and that's how he made his living, was playing guitar as a hired hand. And now he teaches at the college where I work, and he's decided to start playing his own music, basically for free, around London. Well, not just in London, he's performing singer-songwriter sessions and things. And while he's one of the best guitarists and best musicians I've ever known, it's as though by choosing to play his own music, he's now playing unpopular music because he has to play for free and there's 1,000 gigs a night in London or something, so no one goes to his concert. Not nobody. But I mean, if he was playing genuinely popular music as he used to, it wouldn't be his. So anyway, I think he's an interesting case. This is day 33. I think we're on about 37 now, 38 maybe. He's that was a week ago. Day 40. Right. He's been doing a blog that started 40 days ago about what it's like to be a musician today, and he has used the word musician. A year in the life of a musician, not the year in the life of a minstrel or writer or producer, but he's talking about his just various experiences. He writes about 1,000, 1,500 words a night after a gig, after his day. And he's planning to turn it into an e-book, I think, some sort of just basically logging what happens. So I was wondering, and am wondering, if perhaps there's been a shift in popular music studies as to who's writing about popular music. And I'm going to suggest perhaps in what I'm going to call the old school, there are people like Alan Moore, Martin Clunan, his famous names, Simon Frith, Keith Negus, Andy Bennett, Celia Bjork, she's fantastic, and Sheila Whiteley. These people writing about musicians, but primarily these people were not musicians themselves. They're writing sort of objectively about other people doing music. And certainly Alan Moore, Martin Clunan, Keith Negus, these people mostly write about famous musicians. Popular music as in it's very popular. And I think now perhaps there's a new school, maybe, of musicians like Jay, writing about what we do, what from the inside. So perhaps a changing paradigm. Alex Gillett, he's the guitarist in the band that I'm in, called the Eruptors. We play loud and fast. Me, maybe. I don't know. This is definitely what I do. We all write about our own research and our own music. Our research is what we do. Matt Brennan's another drummer. He's based in Edinburgh, writing a social history of the drum kit. Natasha Figin is a colleague of mine, writing about what he does. Matt Zeebley is a sax player who plays in Brian Setzer's big band. But he's actually writing about hip-hop music. He's in California. But a musician on the inside, And Stephen Wheel, another colleague of mine from Wales. So I just wonder if perhaps there's a difference here. There was another difference I was thinking of as well. It'll come back to me. Okay, so this is a picture of me doing it's my first ever masterclass. I did this last week. It was massive, isn't it? It was a bit scary actually. That's my drum face. I have another drum face apparently as well, but that's the main one. So here are a few of the things that I do. I've given conference papers, or am giving conference papers with the titles like this: Drummers, Ethnicity and Community in Popular Music, a Cultural Psychology Perspective. I'm writing about drummers, but I am a drummer, and I always write about me and talk about me, so this conference paper is coming up. Another conference paper, an initial exploration of drummers from a Merleau-Pontian perspective. This one's actually been turned down by a conference, but I'll get it in. Again, it's all about me, what it's like playing the drums when you're me. Drumming and driving, identity realization in band vans. This is me telling stories about being in different bands and realizing my identity as a drummer and driver. And these have all been accepted apart from one so far. Everybody's welcome to the Hooli. This is about an Irish band that I play in. From my point of view, I'm going to be interviewing the singer and guitarist and manager of this band, all the same person. Another one. This is a paper that Alex Gillett and I put together. We've done at a couple of conferences about, from our band, from a business marketing perspective and from a drummer's perspective. So, it's happening. I am very reassured by statements like this. There is no distinction between doing research and living a life. Great. We are observers and participants of our own experiences. You cannot separate who you are from what you do. I firmly believe that. I like this, that understanding individuals can shed light on the silent majority of people whose individual voices are unheard. And I think this speaks to the popular music studies thing, that apart from Ruth Finnegan and a few other people, the focus has perhaps been on, as I said, big media, big music, and I think perhaps maybe people like me talking about what we do is indicative of the broader picture kind of just underneath. I don't know, it might not be, it might just be me talking about me, but hopefully they're more like me. And I like this idea of the artistically constructed pieces of text, so the way you construct the text is important as well. This is from a book about autoethnography, so that the nature of the narrative, the piece itself is important. So it's by Tessa Munsey wrote this book. And I agree with her every word. It's very encouraging to read this. There are people who disagree with her, but I know. So I'm not sure. Is this good enough? Do we need to be more objective about the stuff that we do? Do I need someone else to be more objective about my work? Because now I'm here talking about myself. It's getting further and further into this. Maybe it's enough. So I've got a few things to show you about what I do at the Institute where I teach. So there's the Institute again. There should be a video now if this works. It's a very short song from my masterclass last week. That's part of what I do. Then I play drums at the various college events. This is me at a bandioki night, where you turn up and provide a backing band for various singers to sing. And another institute gig, playing with a singer-songwriter friend of mine, Mark, also singing, playing my favourite Fruit Shakers. Very good. And here I am with the Eruptors, giving a talk about the Eruptors. This is Jeff, our bass player, who was singing on that last track, shouting more. And the reason the song is called 1, 2, 3, 4 is because he's Irish and can't go. So that's us there, being academic. And I often play musical theatre productions and get my students to come and watch, or to hopefully learn from what I'm doing, not all, and learn. And they know that I write a lot, because I'm often writing. Giving talks to my students, and like this one. And then it all sort of comes to a head with graduation, where I present to the parents and the students every year, and kind of wonder, when I'm talking to a hall full of people, what they think of me. Who is this guy? What kind of authority does he have to say what he's saying? Is he a professional? Is he a teacher? Is he a musician? Is he a bit of both? Who's this man in the strange room? Bright blue blazer. And this phrase keeps coming back about the protean, which is Dawn Bennett's phrase, or portfolio musician. And I think it's about, hopefully, all of these things that my students all know that I do, hopefully it helps them to see that that's what being a professional musician could be. Or not for everybody, but these are options. And I wonder if perhaps this might help lower people's ambitions if they see that I kind of have all these things. Or if maybe that's not lowering your ambitions at all. Maybe that's... I'm very, very happy. And I think I'd be bored doing one thing. So maybe this is exciting for them, I wonder. So I talk to my students in terms of this, the snowball self. Not all the time, because they would get incredibly bored, but I like to think of it in these terms, that yourself as a snowball rolling around on a snowy piste, gathering bits of identity, snow, as it rolls around. Bits might fall off, get covered up, might grow and shrink. And I think perhaps I like to think of a meta-identity as, for instance, musician, and within which there are different contextual identities, in which you might be jazz drummer, rock drummer, show drummer, teacher, guy writing about drummers, guy talking about writing about drummers, whatever it is. But this identity is a larger one within which we have different contextual identities, which overlap with other identities, such as maybe husband, or cyclist, or whatever other identities you might have. So I usually do one lecture a year with my students about this, and kind of just, suggest to them that it's okay to be various different things, and if you don't make it as the world's best drummer, then that's alright, And it's sort of part of a bigger model to do with realization. I'm afraid I last presented this slide in America, so we've got Z's instead of S's in realization. I apologise for that. It offends some of my colleagues. So the active identity realization is where you go about doing your musician, where you go, it will be making it real, making it happen. And the passive identity realization, that understanding that you have about yourself, when you go, aha, I am a drummer, teacher, jazzer, whatever it might be. And there are sometimes these come in what might look like the wrong order, and then you have the learning realization, where we go about making learning happen, the active learning realization, and then also called passive learning realization, where you understand what you've learned, sort of learning about learning, and all of these things feed into making our self. In the context of, inevitably, space and time, and the various cultures in which we find ourselves. So I think sometimes I found this, and I think some students find that, depending on where you are, you have to wear a different hat. Or, I'm almost finished actually. Yeah, and I think it varies depending on where you are. The culture of the band you're in, the culture of the music scene you're in, the culture of the college, the culture of wherever you are. These kind of things. So, in terms of popular music education, I think that what I've maybe unearthed is fantastic. Makes me look like that. In terms of popular music studies, I don't know. So all in all, I feel a bit purple and confused. Thank you very much. Please, if you can all see me. Yes.
Right, any comments, questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. I also like the kind of autoethnography that you're doing, if I may call it like that. You can also call it maybe the inception effect that you're talking about, how you think about how you write, about how you play, right? That's sort of DiCaprio kind of thing. But I have one problem though, maybe you disagree with me, but what about the danger of you changing the way you act, or you do, because you know that it will be researched later by yourself?
Yeah, I wonder, that may be happening. I don't think so. I think so far it's been kind of retrospective. I've sort of done things and written about it, but I'm becoming more self-conscious or self-aware about stuff, yeah. But I think I've basically made a plan to kind of enjoy myself, which is writing and drumming essentially for me, and driving the band down when I have to, because everyone else is drunk. don't know. It's interesting though, isn't it?
It's not that you're like hyper-conscious of yourself all the time. Is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think that happens. I don't. No, I think if I'm drumming, I'm not thinking about researching it. I'll write about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So far, I don't know. Well, no, actually, that's not entirely true because I'm working on something at the moment which I'm trying to describe the experience. It'll still be after the event, but trying to figure out what it is that happens in the moment when I'm playing. From a sort of, that was my Merleau-Ponty idea, like the phenomenology of perception, what actually happens there and then, But there is a danger, which I suppose I'll have to put in the introduction. Certainly.
Thank you, Gareth. I was just wondering, kind of going back to where you started from, that is, how does the professional portfolio musicianship looks like? How will it look like? Is this the way forward, that we should educate musicians who can live in these different realities or communities?
Yeah.
And how do you see whether, for example, being a musician and a researcher, how do they feed back to each other? And also, sorry, would kind of the abilities that researchers, for example, need, self-reflection and other reflection, would that help musicians?
I don't.
Does this make sense?
Maybe, yeah. I think yes, we should be teaching people about this, but also, I suppose it's unavoidable because people in big famous bands aren't going to be teaching music colleges, because they're going to be touring the world or writing their album, and they're obliged to do what the record company is asking them to. So inevitably, the people who are teaching in colleges are people who aren't at the very, very, very top commercially in their profession most of the time. So I think I'm just being honest about it because I suppose I was initially and still am slightly nervous about my position as a teacher. People flock to the music college and they find me there, but they probably are assuming I'm worthy of teaching them stuff. So I think I just have to say, look, I feel like I want to share everything I do and say, like, I'm all these different things and it all helps. It's all part of who I am. It's not. I suppose it started for me with there's sometimes a misconception that what you should do when you come out of music college is be a musician, and then if you absolutely have to and can't find anything else to do, then you can teach. Which is what I was basically told at college. I love teaching. I think I'm quite good at it. It's one of my favourite things. And I wouldn't want to stop doing it. So I suppose for me, when I'm talking with my students about these things, I don't talk about it all that often, really. It's just a point of, there are lots of options open to you and they can all be really fulfilling. And being a teacher doesn't mean you aren't a drummer. Or being, if you're a researcher, doesn't mean you can no longer be a guitarist. So that answers part of your question. And I think the sort of reflexive skills of researching things, I think can only help musicians as performers. I would have thought so. Unless you don't want to learn what you're doing. Paul McCartney has that kind of approach where he tries to distance himself from it and assume it's all fine. Which works out okay.
Trying to get an idea about Merleau-Ponty and drumming, how do they connect?
Well, this is for the future. No, it's from the little I've read so far. For me, it's about. Okay, I have my thesis was entitled "I Drum Therefore I Am," and I was thinking about that in terms of I think therefore I am, or I drum therefore I am, and what the difference is. And I've been thinking more and more about what it is for me that drumming is. And people talk about it as a creative thing or a sort of musical thing. For me, what it really is for me is when I just it's in the moment. There's something happens when I just kind of feeling and hearing all become the same thing, and I'm not consciously thinking at the time. I think the way he talks about perception in that book, the phenomenology of perception, is what it feels like for me to be drumming. That's how I experience drumming. I'm not thinking about it consciously, and I'm not necessarily doing what I plan. I'm just feeling and hearing, and it's all sort of a thing that happens. And it might not be entirely him. I'm thinking about it. There's sort of words like groove and trancing and deep listening, and lots of things that might all tie up with what goes on. Does that sort of explain it?
Yeah. What I'm interested in is cognitive theory is going now quite sort of almost sort of converging with phenomenology and
Okay.
exploring very much that sort of issue.
I mean, it's very much the beginning for me. I'm dabbling and finding various. I've got a pile of books like this at home, at the moment, which is cool. So, watch this space. Sorry for not having more to say on that one.
So thank you very much indeed for the great presentation. I happen to be involved in music management education, continuing education, and we're trying to involve as many practitioners as possible. And I really think this is necessary. And one of the reasons is that if we're doing what we're doing in the right way, so this makes it easier for students to step into the market and find jobs.
Right.
With your approach of what you've been doing, because you don't just represent the music industry, but you represent music as is, in a short approach. What is your view? Does this approach really help your students to find jobs?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my approach does or doesn't. I don't think it would not help them. I think it might help them find other jobs actually. So because I'm still. I left music college in 1999, so 13 years ago, and I still feel like I'm still figuring out what to do. And I think it's that for me, I enjoy the journey. I enjoy the discovery. And I think for me, it's important to help the students realise that there's no point at which you've finished. It's not like you leave college, get a job in a band, and then you're done. And I think I want to help them try and avoid that. Because what I thought was that I would be in a band, you'd put out an album, become famous, and I'd spend the rest of the time touring the world playing the album. But I'd be bored out of my mind. I've played a show for 3 weeks and can't think of anything I'd less rather do than play it again. And so I just. Well, I am nervous that for some people, perhaps they might think that perhaps I'm trying to say don't aim for the best. But hopefully what I get across is I am doing the thing I would most like to do at the moment. I'm really enjoying what I do. I'm not ever thinking I wish I wasn't teaching, I wish I wasn't writing, I really wish I was in Coldplay. I don't wish I was in Coldplay. So I suppose my message to the students is that you certainly don't not aim for being in a famous band or whatever it is you want to do, but I think there are other things you can do that are equally fulfilling and maybe more so. Because while I would love to have a #1 selling album, what I wouldn't want to do is sit in the back of a bus 23 hours a day, playing for 45 minutes a day. I would be restless as hell. I can't imagine that. Is that okay?
Yeah, very much so. So
Okay.
I just wonder how the connection between practice and theory works in this particular case, which I find very interesting.
Yeah. I think this chap Jay Stapler, I think, is a really interesting guy from that point of view, especially for the students, because he teaches on loads of the programs and things, and he's had that career, and now he's chosen something else as well. So I think he's perhaps an interesting example of he can tell all the stories about what that's like and what this is like, in case it looks like I've given up on myself, which I haven't. Anyone watching, I haven't given up on myself.
Right. Any questions?
It must be.
I would have one, but I think that it's going to take too long to deal with that.
You can ask me at dinner.